The other two companies are dedicated more on the hospitality and tourism industry, where we work with hotels, restaurants, catering companies, hospitals, depending on the country, and I'll say that in a minute, I'll explain that in a minute, and also with tourism offices. That's also to be able to help them with the tourism plan, and not necessarily that to elevate the level of service in the hospitality industry. As we all know, the hospitality industry was one of the ones that suffered the most during the pandemic. But not necessarily that. We also seen that there's been a loss in terms to the level of service that the hotels and the restaurants are providing nowadays. This is where I come with. I actually bring a group of experts that's going to help them elevate. And as you see, I'm using the word elevate a lot. The reason why I named my company, or the group of companies, Artifa, is an Arabic word, and that means elevate. And that's the reason why our main concept is to elevate from a global service and hospitality the business community. Now, in my previous role, I was the former director of international trade and commerce of the city of Washington, D.C. We faced many challenges, and one of the challenges that we faced that I managed to know that as the director of trade and commerce for the city of Washington was the fact that Washington, D.C. was known for three major things: the White House / federal government, the monument, and the museums. So when I did our survey, I said, well, how are we positioned from an economic development perspective at an international level? Zero. Almost got a heart attack. So I took the position, I said, oh my God, what I'm getting into. So we did a survey, we got those three results, and not only that, we have to build. I said, we sit in a jurisdiction where we host over 186 embassies. We have the world right here in the backyard. So what can we do? I gathered my team, we built the first international strategy for the city of Washington, D.C. We partnered with 20-something countries, and not only that, I'm proud to say that after and during the pandemic, we were able to bring 27 new companies to the district that is actually now averaging 1,250 employees to Washington yesterday. So that's something that was amazing. It was probably done about. I met Anthony through Caroline. Caroline and I have known each other for many, many years. We have sat in multiple boards together. And she said, well, Andres, I want you to meet Anthony so we can start talking and see, well, okay, fine, let's talk. I want to interview about what? Well, you got 24 hours. I said, 24 hours for what? To get you into interview. I said, what type of interview? Talk about economic development. What type of economic development? Well, so finally we got it done. Okay? Then we started connecting with the chamber. I did probably 2 more interviews. And I said, well, Caroline, what's next? She goes, just stay put and we'll make it happen. So now I was invited at the beginning of the year to visit St. Croix as part of a farm trip. And I got to tell you something. I've been to the USVI before. I say Cayman because I used to live there. I've been to the USVI before, but this is the time that I really went.
Yes, you sure did.
And I gotta tell you, I fell in love with St. Croix. I said, oh my God. And I had a chance to meet with Vic several times, and I remember meeting with him. I said, you do not know. We need to send this message to the world. You do not know where you guys are standing right now. And then, unfortunately, I say unfortunately because he made me study. He sent me his book of Vision 2040. And I said, oh my God, do I need to read this? He says, I'll say an executive summary. He sent me the executive summary, so I read it, and I said, it's like almost, not necessarily, but almost you were so immense into it that I started reading more and more chapters. I said, this is it. We got more. This is like reading the Bible. We got more coming in here. So my goal right now is to be able to collaborate with the USVI and make sure that you build a legacy to ensure that the USVI becomes the point of entry to the international market, to the United States.
That's right.
And we need to share that story. We need to share that story. And not only that, to make sure that Vision 2040 is implemented, but now we need to make sure that the business community understands and they will be able to bring and export their services to other jurisdictions. So, in 2 minutes, thank you very much.
let me give him credit for something. He was part of the CASE launch.
Yes.
We launched. And Andres was the one that the light bulb moment. He said, do you realize that the Virgin Islands could literally be the hub for the rest of the country and the region, because you are a U.S. territory, and at that point you were still with D.C. He said, and then I also spoke to Randy, and he both concurred that we're in a unique position, Virgin Islands is in a unique position to be able to work with other municipalities and private sector to position Syncor to be that hub for international trade and commerce in the Caribbean region. And here we are today.
And we were actually on a phone, it was a phone call, it was a Zoom call in February when Andres, because he kept saying, I'm international trade, you're not international, and then it went, wait a minute, and we all saw the same thing. And it was almost like, you know, sometimes, this is what we're going for. It is the United States of America succinctly in the Caribbean ready to be.
And Andres is the, he heads up our FDI initiative, Foreign Direct Investment.
If I may, before Madam speaks, what you're saying here, and again about making USVI the gateway, I can't tell you how many pharma and biotech companies that I have spoken to in the last 9 months who treat USVI like it's a foreign territory.
That's right.
USVI is in our genetic record, is northeast New York. At one point they gave it to North Carolina and nobody was happy. Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. When they brought it back to New York, everybody was happy. Puerto Ricans can now have their meetings in Spanish and everybody understands, you know, but even yesterday, I was speaking to someone and I said, I need a definitive answer because I'm looking for funding. I'm trying to help fund the chapters that are there, and nobody's giving me a definitive answer. And these, you know, we have a population that we want to serve, and knowing that, you know, we are trying to, as a small organization, looking out for other organizations, there is a lot of money that we can bring in for community-based organizations to do their missions, but I need help. I need help to know to get it clear in people that yes, this is U.S. territory, and this is where economics is going to happen for this whole region. I love what you just said about that.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Alina Salim. I am the Chief of Staff at the UVI Research and Technology Park. Matt and Peter talked a lot about what we do, but they kind of left out some things, and sometimes I have to do everything. One of the big things about economic development is workforce development.
Yes.
Okay, you cannot develop your economy without a workforce.
That's right.
And so we have been working really hard to look at how we're doing workforce development, how we bring companies in and with our business attraction who want to do business here in the Virgin Islands, but also need a workforce and are willing to train. So we're bringing companies in that are willing to train who they are. And one of the big things that most people don't know about the Virgin Islands, we're a hub zone. And besides being a hub zone, you can live anywhere in the Virgin Islands. You don't have to have a little place here and where your workers work. They can live on the mountain, they live in the Annalee, you can live on a hill. The entire Virgin Islands is a hub zone. And so just imagine bringing a company in, and we have 2 hub zone companies now. We're concentrating on that. Bringing a company in who comes, and yes, you're coming, I know.
She put me on Front Street, family.
I mean, you get to be a hub zone, you get to be a minority, you get to be a vet, a disabled vet. I mean, what more? Who could beat that contract? Okay?
Well, why don't you just put it out there for everybody?
I'm trying to get more companies, okay?
I like it, love it.
So those are one of the things that we really are concentrating on. We're looking at how we have one company now that is doing a medical coding, and he has found out that the Virgin Islands is a gem. He says it's work from home, live anywhere, and has done a whole big advertising. But he's also certifying his people, and they have a job. So he's not just training and having a job, and that's what we want our companies to do. Train and have jobs for them when they're finished, just not training people. So that's a big part. But our other thing is our Vista Plus, which is our Virgin Islands STEM Talent Archive, because there are so many Virgin Islanders. Brooklyn must have maybe a couple thousand, 10,000, 50,000 Virgin Islanders living here. Okay, we want them back. We want them back.
Because it is a brain drain. There is a brain drain.
Yeah, we have a brain drain. We have too many Virgin Islanders who leave and don't come back. When they come back, they bring companies like Reggie has. When they come back, I made my sons all come back, so they started companies. We need them them to come home. We can't develop, we can't do anything if our best and our brightest leave. So in our archive, what we're doing is we have a database, and we're collecting Virgin Islanders. Our first big effort is going to be in Atlanta in April. We have a bunch of Virgin Islanders in Atlanta going and doing at the Blanken Collective. We're going to be over there in Atlanta at the, I just left me what it is, but another Virgin Islander has the gathering space. You have one of these.
Right.
Gathering spot.
The gathering spot.
Oh, the gathering spot in Atlanta.
What's that date? What's that date?
April 15th.
Oh, that's
April 15th.
tax day.
It's a Saturday. So April 15th, we will be there, and we will be taking, in order to come, it's a big event, you have to register on our database, and we're going to be coming to New York also to find out our Virgin Islanders here. But they can come back and forth, okay? We won't keep them. But we really are glad to do these things because we love economic development.
So, Alina,
Thank you, Alina.
I got a couple quick, and I keep going back to the governor's point about talent attraction, talent retention. There's two types of economic development strategies that I've sort of been exposed to. There's the traditional, how do we maybe develop infrastructure and offer incentives to attract companies? And then there's sort of the Richard Florida perspective, which is how do we attract talent and then the companies will follow, right? Now, setting aside the diaspora and the folks that are here who you want back, but what is the unemployment rate right now? In
4% or
4%. That's like almost full employment. 4% is tight, right? So if the governor's telling someone like me who spent at least 12 years in workforce development, like we need talent, we need to attract talent, we need to retain talent, right? You've got one immediate asset that's probably very evident, right? Like you can't beat the weather, the climate, and the beauty of a place like the Virgin Islands. If we were to find the talent and get them to want to be there, number one is the infrastructure there, the current infrastructure, particularly for tech-based employment, and number two is the housing there.
Two is easy, though.
We're building 66 workforce development house.
All right, I mean, the housing is a big piece. Because you know what, honestly, I get a little excited, Kathy knows this, because I like getting things done, I like doing new ideas.
Solutions.
So if the governor said to me, Randy, look, I need you to figure out how you're going to get 25,000 people to come relocate to U.S. Virgin Islands, right? So that we can do what Brooklyn did, which was really attract talent. Brooklyn's transformation from an old industrial economy is the Richard Florida model, because we didn't have either land nor incentives to offer, right? So what we offered though was something very different. It was a lifestyle, and it was the attraction of people wanting to be here for all the quality of life, live, work, play purposes. And on the housing front, we had old industrial land that was repurposed into housing. So we had a place for them to actually live when they came here. Now today it's a very different story. We talk about affordable housing, but my point is, like, I don't think it's as hard to sell to convince people, hey, U.S. Virgin Islands is where you need to be, right? But when they get there, they got to be able to plant roots there and be there. So that's just like my observation.
And Randy, that is, those are measures that are embedded within our approach to economic development. And it's also important to point out that we have two sizable QOZ zones that we're taking advantage of. So there's one big one on St. Thomas, but we're getting ready to build in the St. Croix QOZ. It's the same complement of products, right, that you use in Brooklyn and Chicago. So the HUD 221D mortgage guarantee program is underutilized in the Virgin Islands, so we're taking advantage of that. And we're trying to kind of create a sense of urgency about filling the sort of gaps that you're talking about, because if we don't build more housing, right, across the economic spectrum, we can't attract talent. So,
Right, across the economic spectrum, right? Because I agree, I could relocate, I could probably find housing.
Yeah.
But like, you know, hospitality workers or whatever, or semi-skilled workers, probably have a harder time.
Right. Workforce housing.
And if we could, before we let the discussion go any further, we have one more person to get up and introduce
So, no,
themselves.
wait,
and then
two.
we
We
have
have
two, I'm sorry, Kathleen.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, my name is Celeste Morris. I'm from Brooklyn. I think I'm even a step ahead of you, Randy. I was born in the Brooklyn Hospital.
Oh, my God. I didn't know that.
So was Congressman Jeffries, by the way. So we're alum of the Brooklyn Hospital.
Okay, what year? Okay, I'm teaching.
We won't talk about which year that happened, but I did graduate from Erasmus Hall High School in 1967. So, that is not that long ago. In any case, I've been traveling back and forth to the Virgin Islands for almost 50 years now, since my sister moved there, and that was really where I could go for all expense paid vacations, right? I have had a business in the Virgin Islands. My sister and I started a truck sale business. I buy the clothes here, we sell them to the ladies in the Virgin Islands. I now, here in New York, I have my own company. It's called Morris Allsop Public Affairs. Our mission is to help businesses as well as grassroots organizations navigate the government, which can be pretty scary at times. I have run the city's Minority and Women Business Program, and I ran the MTA Minority and Women Business Program, and my sister and I had a business since we were 10 years old, selling pot holders and coconut bread and turnovers along with my grandmother to the ladies at church. So I understood that having a business meant freedom, because every year we went to Rye Beach on some rides, and they told us which rides we could go on, but if we had our own money, we could go on any ride we wanted. So I think that's how a lot of us get into business, because we see that independence and so forth, and I've had, I call myself a serial entrepreneur. I also train entrepreneurs. I've done it for the city's program of businesses in general. We have they have a startup training